Now, at the same time, as a result of China manipulating its currency weaker, at the same time, if you are Chinese, foreign products have become more expensive. Okay, so you are a Chinese person, you earn in yuans, you could be a very wealthy person, but guess what? If you want to buy an American car, if you want to buy Japanese electronics, it's so expensive because your yuan is so weak. So when you convert your yuan to US dollars, or Japanese yen, or euros, or British pounds, it's not even worth it for you to buy these things. So what's the effect? The effect is Chinese citizens buy Chinese. They buy Chinese cars. They buy Chinese electronics. They buy Chinese clothes, goods, accessories. Okay, so they have mastered keeping money inside their borders. Not only through what we discussed, making it very difficult to get money out. Not just this, not just systemically making it difficult, but by weakening your own currency, you've made foreign products very unattractive. Okay, like for example, I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just using it as an example. Chinese people are not going to be buying Lululemon from Canada. Okay, Lululemon might be a very popular fitness and yoga brand for Canadians and the Brits and maybe even Australians and Kiwis, but for the Chinese, they're like, what the heck? That stuff is way too expensive. It could be like 5 times the price that Canadians pay. So it's there's a lot of effect of the cause. Cause, effect. There's a lot of effects. And so, if in China, foreign products are more expensive, the demand for importing foreign products falls. And governments do use devaluation of their currency to even out a trade imbalance. You can devalue your currency to have your exports exceed your imports. And that's really how you hack the global trade system. And so, returning back to this, Trump's 2025 plan focuses on leveraging tariffs to fund, remember, tax cuts, stage 3. We're going to use tariffs to fund the tax cuts. We're also going to use tariffs, revenue from tariffs, to reduce government size, cut government spending, stage 1. And we're going to aim to stimulate domestic industry and achieve economic self-reliance. So the point is, let's stop relying on other countries for all of our goods, from raw input materials to final construction, and maybe let's bring some of that stuff back home. Yeah, it is expensive even for a Canadian. So imagine how much it is for a Chinese person. And let me tell you something, Michelle. Lululemon in the UK is so expensive. So whatever we pay, let's say a pair of pants is 110 Canadian dollars. In England, in the UK, that same pair of pants is just that absolute value in pounds. So it'll be 110 pounds to purchase the same pair of pants that you can get in Canada for 110 Canadian dollars. Yeah, and it suddenly becomes 2.5 times the price. Same thing for Canada Goose jackets. How much do Canada Goose jackets go for these days? Last time I knew it was $1,200, and I stopped buying winter jackets after that. That's probably like 10 years ago. So let's say a Canada Goose jacket costs 1,800 Canadian dollars. You want to buy that exact same jacket in the UK? It's going to cost you 1,800 pounds. 1,800 pounds. So yeah, this all is related. It's all relevant. This is trade. This is tariffs. Like, every country does this. And it's only that the US has been so lax on charging other foreign products or levying tariffs on other foreign products that now people are all up in arms. But it's been this way for the rest of the world. Let me just say that. It's been this way. So let me add some more notes. I was thinking very hard about our last discussion from last week's call for the entire week, and I have a better summary that I want to share with you. Okay, so I also got to see chat messages I missed last time when I was uploading the video. And so I think this summary is going to clear up a lot of questions you might have. So let's do like a vertical chart. One side, let's do USA. And another side, let's do China. Let's move this for a second. Okay, so we are going to break it down like this. Let's do, what does the USA and China, what do they have? Or like, who are they? Has is, okay. So the USA has a 330 million population, many of whom are hyper-consumerists. Can I fit all this in? Maybe I make this 18. And the USA market accounts for 39% of all goods and services consumption in the world. So huge consumers, okay? They love buying stuff. We know that. Now, what about China? So China has, or is, they are a powerhouse in production, shipping, and logistics. And they have factories, plants, and the infrastructure. Okay, that's undeniable. What about their current position? So, the US's current position, oh goodness. So they currently consume more than they create. I think we can all see that there. And they are a standard of living powerhouse, if I can put that as a term. Okay, what I mean by that is there's a very good balance between opportunities, pay, technology, medical services, innovation, advancements, etc. Right? You might not agree that, standard of living in America is very high, but let me tell you, if you are from another nation, people will do anything. People will really do anything for a chance to move to and live in America. That's why there are so many illegal aliens there. Okay? It's undeniable. What about China? What's their position? Well, they are the opposite in that they create more than they consume. Okay, and they are a manufacturing powerhouse. I think those are both self-explanatory. Okay, and then what does each country want? So, USA now, we want homegrown businesses. We want to bring manufacturing back to America. We want to keep the entire create, spend, tax revenue cycle domestic. That means from manufacturing to logistics to shipping to revenue to tax revenue on the business income. We want to keep this all inside the country, just like China's doing, right? I mean, they're doing it. Why can't we? What does China want? Well, they have, as a result of their existing policies, they have created a worldwide addiction to their own products, their own websites like Temu, Shein, AliExpress sites that connect manufacturers directly to consumers, which we discussed last week, has wide negative implications like slave and child labor, environmental damage, etc. And another thing that they want or have achieved is they have siphoned money from other countries that would have otherwise mostly stayed within those countries. So they've taken money out of America that would otherwise have stayed in America into their own economy. And then once they get it in their economy, it's stuck there. You can't get it out. And so I put in brackets, why can't the US do what China has done for itself? I think that's kind of the goal, right? Like, hey, they're doing it. Why can't we do it? Why are we the bad guys if we want to try for the same thing? And so ultimately, I got this. Ultimately, the US has the consumers, 330 million of them, 330 million, yeah. And they can create its own products, but that's the long game. If you can bring manufacturing back, if you can dissuade people from buying foreign Chinese goods, if you can encourage them to buy American again by maybe increasing the cost of Chinese goods, you know, that short-term pain. If you can get people building businesses again, building plants, manufacturing plants, factories, and if we can create products inside America again, then maybe Americans will start buying American again. And ultimately for China, it's the opposite. Ultimately, China creates the products, but they cannot make their own consumers or customers. So I want to focus your attention onto the last part where I wrote ultimately. Okay, so after what they have and their position and wants for both sides, ultimately US has the consumers, and can create its own products in the long run. But ultimately, China can create its own products for as long as it wants, but it cannot make or create its own customers. Whatever you do, you can't create your own customers. So here's where America actually has the upper hand with Trump's plan and his strategy and all those. Okay, you have this, you can do this eventually. You got the factories, the infrastructure, you got everything down pat, but if you lose America as a market, you're screwed. You cannot make your own customers. You cannot replace 330 million Americans, sorry. At least the USA has the upper hand where they can slowly start replacing where they get their goods made. And so it's kind of like a checkmate there, if you can see what I mean. This is what I was thinking of. This is the ultimate checkmate. Right now, USA is in the losing position because they don't have the infrastructure and the manufacturing, the factories, the plants. Okay, but we can get there. If we take the right steps, we can get there and we can become self-sufficient. China currently holds the power because they create the products. But hey, if you lose your customers, if you lose your biggest market, then what? So all this side has to do is follow through with the plan, and they will have the upper hand in the long run. Right now, they don't have it. Right now, China has the upper hand. This guy has the upper hand. But if this guy can achieve this in the long term, then this guy is screwed. Does that make sense? Does my little vertical chart here make sense of what I am trying to get across? Drop a Y for yes. If there's some confusion, please let me know. Thank you, Dory and Clint and Cheryl and Michelle and Iron. Kim says, I hope the future presidents will follow Trump. And yeah, they have to, because if not, all of this setup will be for nothing. Right, Michael, but why can't America try to get it back? Exactly. Everything takes a long time. Like I said, long game. It's short-term pain for long-term gain. China was very smart. Very smart. But now America realizes how screwed they are. So why can't you correct course, right? Janet, curious as to what the US will do to ensure they have all the resources like steel and rare minerals. Oh, I don't know yet. That's over my head at the moment, Janet. I don't know. That's a possibility, yeah, because Canada is very resource rich. But, I mean, taking over as the next state, I don't know. I think that's very sensationalized. Like absorbing Canada into the US. I don't think so. I think someone just took a soundbite and ran with it. That's true, Dory, yeah. People in power change often, and it's very hard to stay on a trajectory, I guess, and be stable. Yeah. Yeah. Reopen our steel mills and become productive again. It's crazy how much of the world has just handed off everything to China just because it's cheaper. That's all it is. It's simply cheaper. So yeah, ultimately, once again, if you compare the two in a vertical like this, again, you can create your own products. And yeah, it will take a long time, but you can do it. That's what China was working towards, just like Michael said, but you can do it. What you can't do is create your own customers. And that's the point of becoming self-reliant over here. So, if the US plays this right and sticks to the plan, who knows if they do or if they can, it's going to be at least a decade, depending on how fast it goes. At least a decade until we can see things really turning around. It's not an easy game for sure, but it's either that or what's the alternative? Keep going into debt. Keep going into debt, more and more debt, more and more and more debt. That's not a good way out. Something has to change. It's in need of serious reform. 150 trillion in US resources. That's interesting, Clint. So, the main idea, remember, the main objective of all this is to pay down the US deficit. Okay, that huge, massive 36 trillion US deficit and reduce Americans' tax burdens. If we can achieve all this, we are going to reduce or eliminate income taxes for anyone earning $150,000 or less a year. And so you have to see that tariffs, the point of it is it can help boost production at home by making foreign goods more expensive. And once again, if China can do it where they make their yuan weak on purpose, that it incentivizes Chinese citizens to buy Chinese goods because buying foreign goods would be way too expensive, not only because of a weak yuan, but also the tariffs that China imposes on American goods coming in. Right? China puts tariffs on American goods. And now Trump is just saying, okay, we want to do the same thing back to you. And now he's painted as an evil guy for just reciprocating. I think that is really wild. And so yeah, if you can rebuild American manufacturing and you can create new sources of revenue, that's stage 2, and you make America more self-reliant, you also eventually become protected from the global supply chain shocks that we had during the pandemic. Remember that? Chaos. Supply chain shocks and chaos during COVID when everything was shut down and you couldn't get anything. Empty shelves for weeks. And so that's another effect, right? That's another consequence of this plan. It's ambitious, but that's one of the things that they're working towards. And so, yeah, just remember the aim and effect of trade tariffs are twofold. One is to boost revenue for your country because you got to pay this thing off. And two is to boost domestic spending and domestic industry. When foreign products are more expensive, you will seek local alternatives. It's as simple as that. Okay, let me tell you a personal example. Me in Portugal or me in Canada buying US goods. Canadians in the group, I know you know, a few years back, they made it higher. But before, if you buy anything that cost more than 20 Canadian dollars, you were hit with duties. I don't know if the rest of you know this. Canada had the lowest threshold for duties. So if you buy anything that costs more than 20 Canadian dollars, once it arrives into Canada, they are charging you 17% duties plus 13% tax. That is expensive. So if I was buying clothes or shoes or accessories from a brand in the US and it was higher than 20 Canadian dollars, which of course it is, right? Like $20 is nothing, especially in Canadian dollars. So if I'm buying something that cost me 100 Canadian dollars, you're going to add $17 on top of that plus $13 on top of that. That is expensive. Something that was $100 now has like $30 of taxes. That's tariffs and duties and taxes, by the way. And it's the same in Portugal. It's the same in Portugal. Guess what? I have to pay 23% tax. It's known as VAT here, value added tax, on the cost of the item plus shipping. So now it's not even just the cost of the item. Okay, if I buy something that costs, I'm going to convert to euros, 100 euros, wherever it is coming from, if it's not coming from within the EU, I'm going to get charged 23% VAT on that 100 euro item. And if there's shipping, if I had to pay for shipping, the 23% VAT tax is charged on shipping as well. So that's all to say the rest of the world has been doing this. And it's so crazy that Americans out there just don't get it. Canadians have been dealing with this for a very long time. Europe has been dealing with this. Things are expensive to buy if you buy them from abroad. And the US just wants to make it fair. They just want to level the playing field. Is that evil? Does that make them bad? I don't know. I mean, I hate it. Let me tell you, I don't like paying tax. I need to make that clear. I don't love paying 23% VAT in Portugal. I don't love paying 17% duties plus 13% tax in Canada, but that's the consequences if you purchase things abroad. It's really not that hard to understand. But I guess Americans have had it so good for so long. Americans don't get charged any duties or tariffs. I mean, this was before the current tariffs thing, but they had an $800 threshold. You can buy things from around the world and you won't get charged until your purchase is over $800. And so guess what? Now that I'm in Portugal and I have to pay 23% VAT on cost of the goods plus shipping on stuff that I order outside of the EU, guess what that does to me? It makes me buy only stuff inside the EU. Like, it just makes so much sense, obviously, right? I think those of you in the UK in this call, those of you in Europe in this call, you get it. You totally get it. Like, we are not buying things from outside the EU. And back then, before Brexit, I could actually buy things from the UK and not have to pay. But now I do. So guess what? Now I'm not buying things from the UK. I'm only going to buy it if it's from another EU nation, because I'm not paying an extra 23% on goods from the UK. And you see, that's cause and effect. It's working. It's doing its job. It's making me buy European. It's like, why do I have to explain this to people? You know, when Canada has a threshold, now it's raised. It used to be $20. Now you get $40 threshold before you get charged tax. And then you get $140 threshold before you get charged duties. But, you know, all that being said, it incentivizes Canadians to buy from Canadian stores, from Canadian businesses, and Canadian brands, because who the heck wants to pay 17% duties and 13% tax on top of your online purchase? Again, it's doing its job. The duties and tariffs and taxes, it's doing its job to keep your money inside your borders. And I don't see what's evil with that. It's annoying for consumers, but it does its job. Put it this way. Europe knows if there wasn't a 23% VAT charged on goods and shipping, you'd spend all your money elsewhere. And all the money in the EU would go to companies outside the EU. Canada, same thing. They know if they didn't charge 17% duties and 13% tax on stuff that you order online from outside Canada, they know you're just going to buy a crap ton of stuff coming from foreign companies and businesses and brands. And simply implementing taxes and tariffs keeps the money internal. That's it. That's pretty much it. So if Europe and Canada can do it, and that's only two examples of many, my two personal examples, then I ask, why can't the USA do it?